So, welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, this is Mary, and we're gonna be reading some more RPG horror stories together.
Wow!
Let's go ahead and straddle this situation and get to the first story for today.
Are you riding me?
You're at my crotch level, you had antlers up. Yeah, I'm gonna straddle you.
Oh my god. Okay, I gotta. This is getting too weird. Okay. Okay.
I'll believe it as the intro.
Calm down. Whatever. Whatever you want.
DM made my character give a child an STD by hugging them. Yes, that is an actual title. And yes, we're gonna read it. Because what the fuck? Hi! I don't know if I'm being unreasonable here, but I feel like this is the kind of thing that needs a Session 0 warning. Basically, my character, a fairy druid, died in one of the first combats this campaign, being bitten by a rabid opponent. The DM ruled that I had gotten an STD from contact. This manifested as a bright red rash. Usually in a D&D or an RPG setting, you'll be able to contract like a sickness or a disease with like fragile bones and stuff. Title of the story, that means you also gave it to a child. Out of game, my DM told me this was going to have consequences, even possibly leading to death. They were coming to my place at the time, and I really didn't feel like making a fuss. Having a character with an STD is just a small throwaway joke, right? Oh, OP, you've made the one mistake of trusting your DM, just have it as a joke. Unless the DM specifically says something as a joke, which, you know, I feel like needs to be clarified. You need to be clear with the DM and understand, like, what exactly are you getting yourself into? What is your character getting into? What kind of issues and troubles and tribulations you're gonna be suffering from all this. It's always good for the DM to be clear about it, but if the DM is not being clear, you gotta ask them. Because how would you know? You can't just expect it to just like work out.
I'm more questioning like how do they know that you have STD? Would they know? How would they know it was that maybe they thought
true,
it
you're
was
right.
an infection of the thing?
I mean, at least the DM was, you know, kind of to say like, hey, you contracted something, you have a rash, a visible rash now, but would you not let a player just roll like medicine check or something and just like let him know like, you know, what it is, or say you can go to a healer to get it cured and stuff. You know, I mean, if the DM is given an urgency, you probably should listen to the DM and say that, yeah, you should probably take that with urgency, I guess.
Maybe they were just trying to get rid of the character in general. Who knows?
Oh, that could be a possibility, yeah. Cut to tonight's session. We had killed a Nurgalid. I think it was a Nurgalid big frog creature. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Last session, it occurs the small cute goblin child. The child proceeded to hug my character in thanks, and the contact was inferred to transmit the disease. It kind of reads like the DM forced the child to hug you, right?
Yeah, because they didn't do anything. Like they're the one who made it happen.
Yeah, the child proceeded to hug my character in thanks. Yeah, it sounds like your DM just set you up to basically watch a poor goblin child just get contracted with the disease you have. I feel like... Did I just give this kid a deadly STD? Yeah, thanks to your DM, because your DM decided as the child, like, oh, I'm gonna hug this person, and probably not even give him a chance to like push away and say, no, don't hug me. I have this thing. Also, wait, hold on. From a hug? In the first part, you were bitten by a rabid opponent. The child didn't bite you, did they? How the hell do they have an STD by touch? STD means you have to get something in your like fluids, like a fluid transfer or something, I think, right? Is that how it works, Mary? I don't know. I never learned my birds and bees. But it's like something like that, right? You gotta like spit in someone's mouth or wound or get it mixed with blood and stuff. Pretty sure, right? Hey, Mary, you want to give me your cooties? Here, let me give you a hug. You can give me all the cooties.
Wait, what? I don't know what you have.
Yeah, give me them cooties. Give me them cooties, girl.
You can have any kind of rash. Get him. I don't want
I don't have a rash. I shower.
You are a rash.
Damn. Am I being unreasonable, or should this kind of thing be discussed before the game? Yeah, this should be 100% be discussed at session 0 and let people know that like, hey, yeah, that's a thing that can happen. So be very careful with that. And you can find a healer. The DM probably should have been very upfront with you and give you the chance to say, no, child, please don't come with me. Apparently, regular contact is enough for STDs. Or give you the chance to argue that you're not transmitting anything because it's just a hug. That's all it is. I mean, unless your rash has like boils and stuff or something and they touch the boil area or like where you got the wound from, gross. But like, I don't know, I feel like the DM should be very clear and adamant about like, this is the thing you're going to be dealing with and you need to make sure that you are worried about it. But that should be 100% discussed in session 0, especially the implication that touch touching can transmit a disease to somebody. DM is in the thread. Thanks for the advice, everyone, but I feel like our friendship is worth it to feel slightly uncomfortable during sessions. I probably I guess, shouldn't be so sensitive to everything. Alright.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know about that one.
There's nothing wrong with having a specific set of diseases that you can contract from monsters. That's fine. That concept is kind of cool, and if implemented correctly, can be very nice and could enhance the experience of playing TTRPGs. Having a goblin child just hug you without you realizing that could actually get him contract the disease, that's kind of messed up, dude. That's kind of just setting you up. It's kind of like a setup to basically almost like a gotcha moment. It's a gotcha moment to kind of get you to be like, aha, I gotcha, you did the thing, and you now gave the child the disease because you done so. Haha, good job, buddy. You know, it's just let the players know what they're getting into before they do the actions that could have the consequences done for them. But if the players are doing an action, or in fact the player didn't even do any action, the child went and hugged the player, and now the player had to pay for the consequences of their inaction and the goblin child's action, which to me is really unfair. Anyway, go ahead and get yourself checked up and stuff. Make sure that your antlers are going right for my eyes.
Sorry.
Make sure to be careful and check yourself for any sort of weird bites or touches and stuff, especially from weird deer girls. In which Gary is too boring to endure. I've been very fortunate to have a core group of excellent players for campaigns. I run, but alas, not all of them can be great. A while back, I ran a swashbuckling adventure game loosely based off 7th Sea, and it was among the only times I had to kick someone out. The pitch of the campaign was simple. There were a bunch of rogues with hearts of gold who acquired a ship and were setting out in sail of fortune and excitement. Think Firefly meets Pirates of the Caribbean. The crew consists of Captain Ursade, a cloth merchant's daughter in search of adventure. The Baron, a fey-blooded minor noble cursed to fall in and out of love with the changing of the moon. Linus, an engineer in exile after backing the wrong side in a rebellion. Piotr, a gentle giant of mercenary who fought alongside Linus. Also, he could turn into a bear. And then there was Gary. I can't remember his character name, so I'm just giving him a boring, generic name, for reasons which will become apparent. The first red flag was when Gary announced he wanted to play a shady assassin from an infamous family of dark, edgy villains, which didn't really fit the vibe everyone else was going for. But he'd been introduced to the group by the Baron, who is an excellent role player, so I figured I'd trust him. Maybe he was going to do a quick redemption arc or something, escape his dark past. Alas, that would prove to be far too interesting for Gary. Session 1. Captain Ursade wins a treasure map from a drunken privateer in a card game. The party throw all their money together to buy a ramshackle old ship and set out after the treasure. The privateer and his crew turn up as they were getting ready to hoist sail, claiming that she cheated and took advantage of his drunkenness. A fight ensues. A hilarious critical hit from Linus practically blows the privateer's lower jaw off. He's going to become a fun, recurring villain after his crew dragged him to safety, and the party gets onto open water before more trouble can reach him. All seemed good until the morning after the session. Gary sends the group chat a message complaining that a few things should have been different. His issue included, ships are large and expensive and should only be commissioned by nation states, not just purchased by ragtag adventurers. If you can't get a ship, how are you supposed to travel? On like a rowboat or raft? What is this, like a crappy pirate adventure? No, it's a pirate adventure, man. Gotta be exciting. Gotta have a ship. Can't just sail out of a harbor. You need to hire a tug to steer you out. Well, I mean, if everything becomes realistic, I guess we'll spend extra 20 plus minutes added to every single tiny iota of detail. I mean, it's fine to fast travel your, way through its fantasy. The harbor master should have investigated the fight which took place, and they shouldn't have been able to just leave after such violence. That would be boring, Gary. That'd be very boring if you had to wait for all the authorities to go through and do the checkup, adding an extra hour to everyone's wait time. Why are we adding so much realism? It's not even realism at that point. It's just like a time sink. That's all it is. It's just we're adding time sink to a fantasy game where you play as exciting pirates searching for treasure. They hadn't filed any paperwork before leaving. Yeah, because the pirates are gonna file paperwork before they go off on a boat that they won in a crazy game, and they have to have a fight on the actual the bow of the ship, the poop deck. There we go, the poop deck. We have to file the paperwork after every single scratch and scruffle before we can head out to the exciting adventure. Let's add paperwork to that. Oh, that'd be so fun.
Imagine all like the fake names you could do. All the fake names you write on the paper. It's like Mrs. Pumpernickel or something. Like.
Okay, that would be kind of fun though. That'd be kind of fun. But I mean, if you had to do file paperwork for every single harbor that you enter into as a pirate, you know, outlaws and stuff, that'd be a little bit strange. The crew of sailors that hired to staff up the ship should have refused to work after watching them get into a bloody brawl like that. But what if they're into that sort of thing? What if they're like, hell yeah, this pirate crew is cool, I want to sail the sea with them. They're a bunch of hooligans and outlaws and swindlers and no-do-gooders that I'm really down to ragtag with. Right? Am I using the words correctly?
I'm thinking more of like cowboy, like hootenanny.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, why would they not want to go along with them? I mean, the whole fun would be like, oh my god, these people sound really fun. Let's get along with them and see what kind of treasure we can get and stuff, right? They're probably hired by it. Why would they refuse to work? He just generally did not seem to get that none of that will be fun for anyone. It would be realistic, apparently, and that's what was important. As one player put it in his time, do you remember a bit in Pirates of the Caribbean where Jack Sparrow fills out his bills of landing properly? No, because that would be boring. And yeah, that would be very boring if every single time you had to pull into a dock, you had to have a harbor master check things over, file paperwork, do a lot of waiting, do an extra waiting, do a little bit more waiting. And then what? The crew could also form a union and unionize to like protest about stuff. Then you have to go by the county's bylaws in order to find the Duke or the Duchess of the place and file for some sort of a paperwork in order to abscond with your goods and be able to then file a representative to go with human resources to contact your crew and have a little bit of conversation with them and try to subpoena some sort of a deal. I mean, that stuff sounds really fucking boring. You know what's not boring? Sailing the seven seas and just going a crazy pirate adventure and finding treasure and finding cool bad guys on a ship-to-ship battle too. That'd be awesome. But you know what's not fun? Paperwork. Unless you're forging paperwork, that's the only time it's fun.
Some people like realistic. Sometimes it can be nice to mix it in. The whole point in D&D is to just like mess around and have fantasy, not have the boring part of life mixed in with it. Maybe Gary's just one of those people who just likes it, like he wants everything to be so realistic. But like, you're playing as a rogue and doing all this stuff. It's like, is that realistic?
Yeah, you're playing as a rogue assassin that's part of some sort of a BBG's evil crime family or something like that, whatever the background is. And you're worried about realism? I bet Gary's the kind of guy that loves doing taxes just for fun.
He must be an accountant.
The only time you should be adding mechanics to realism if it adds something more other than time waste to your game. If it adds nothing more other than just to waste everyone's time, it doesn't add anything. Camping survival stuff adds a lot of excitement. Yes, it's a lot of time invested, but it's also really cool to be able to see if you can survive in harsh conditions like in the snowy tundras or the high arid deserts and stuff. That stuff is cool. Realism to how magic interacts with the rest of the world, like water being conductive, adds a lot more versatility that lets the world be more interactive overall, all in all, which is amazing, which is fun. Adding paperwork and taxation and all the other stuff, bro, that's boring as hell. That only adds wasted time for everybody, and then everybody has to add an extra hour to the session just to get through all the paperwork and role-play paperwork. Do you know what's the most boring thing I've ever can think of? Role-playing paperwork in an exciting pirate adventure game. The rocky start gets rockier in session 2 when Gary starts repeatedly undermining Captain Urside in front of her crew and generally being an uncooperative little sometimes confined to the brig, his bedroom, with Pyotr stood outside looking menacing. Doesn't help much. And after a few more sessions of it, it's suggested that maybe he should make a new character who isn't such an ass. And so we get Brick. Brick is an ordinary crewman with few distinguishing features. The first session Brick appears in, the party makes port somewhere and goes off in search of info about a broken amulet. Brick says he won't be going with them because it doesn't make sense for the officer to take one random crew member around with them. Attempts are made to rationalize why he's being included, but he's adamant that it doesn't make sense, so Brick stays on board. Next session, he's final one with us. I say to him, okay, if I give you a situation where you can distinguish yourself so the officers have a reason to work more closely with you, will you take it? He says that he will. Hey, look at that! At least the DM is trying their best in this hopeless situation to get Rick involved, or Gary involved, or whoever he is now. I don't know. The party at this point have adopted a pair of orphans who Piotr and the Baron are raising. We set up a scene where one of them has climbed up to the rigging unattended and then fallen when the ship hits a sudden wave. Only Brick is close enough to save her by doing something daring. Anything. I didn't care what solution he came up with at this point, just as long as he did something. Alright, you're working on some of the ropes of the mast when you hear a scream and see her fall from the perch above you. What do? Does he do something brave? Risky? Remotely cool? No. He explains that actually she never would have been up there because it's obviously unsafe for a child to be climbing unattended, and he wouldn't have let her climb up past him in the first place. Oh my god, dude, you so fucking boring. What the fuck? If you wanted to not have the child climb up there, you probably should have stepped in and engaged, be like, hold on, little girl, you shouldn't be climbing up there. Do something at least. You have the one moment to be like, I try to catch her. I try to hop up and leap up and do a cool somersault, 360, 180, 420, blaze at 69, dab, dab, dab in the air, and I catch her and rescue her. And then instead you're like, actually she would not be in there because my character would not let her even get up there because it's dangerous for children to be up there. Guess what? This is an exciting pirate story. And yes, the kid's gonna climb around because the kid doesn't know better. It's part of the setup for a story. It's part of what makes a story a story. If everybody constantly avoided any sort of laws or, regulations or rules and stuff, do you think stories would happen? One of the most exciting stories out there with movies, with games, with anything is when stuff doesn't go how it's expected to, and then the protagonists or the heroes or the characters in the story have to do something to remedy it.
At one point, I can see him wanting to have that kind of character to be, more straightforward and, responsible. Because, maybe some people out there want to be like that and stuff like that. But if the whole DM, the whole story is supposed to be excitement and fun stuff going on, you should understand that too, that people want you to do something, at least try and do something. They've explained the thing. DM's the one in charge, so you've got to just follow along with it because he's trying to give you some fun, something to do at least, rather than just standing around and doing nothing. She's falling, oh, okay, I'll try and grab that. I could get a net, try and catch underneath because there's usually ropes and stuff around, maybe. Something realistic to do for him. And to be fair, kids would, try and do stuff like that because they won't know what's
kids aren't
better
smart.
For them
kids
to
don't
do.
know better. If they're gonna think, hey, I can climb this, they're gonna climb there. Yeah, you gotta teach them. You gotta do anything. The guy doesn't even want to engage in a story whatsoever. He doesn't want to try whatsoever. That was the final straw. I'll pause the session and send him a message afterwards explaining that he probably shouldn't come back because we were playing a swashbuckling adventure, not riggings and realism. And for an awkward epilogue, he turned up the next session 2 weeks later, claiming not to have checked his message in a fortnight between games. He walked in just as a brick was being written out of the plot. The Baron's player stood up and gently ushered him right back out the door with a, "Come on, man, you should go." What Gary wants to do is he wants to play a realistic sim game, right? He wants to play, American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator or whatever. Play those games where you actually take time and do the realism and stuff. Maybe play a paperwork simulator or something, I don't know. Or you want to play a specific type of TTRPG where everything is regarding realism, bylaws, paperwork and everything, what have you, is there. If you want to start that, start your own games like that and recruit people that also want that. I don't know how many people would, but I mean, you'll probably find some out there, I don't know. Otherwise, stick to playing simulator games or something, I don't know. And that'll be all our stories for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed the stories, I hope you enjoyed Mary's company. We'll be seeing y'all in future videos from then on. Feel free to leave feedback in the comment section below, like, whatever. And if you'd like to see more, consider hitting subscribe.
Hi.